Hi, I hope you're all doing well. Today I would like to share my first sketchbook tour here on YouTube. This sketchbook is quite unusual for me. First of all, it's not a watercolor sketchbook, and that's unusual in itself. And secondly, this is a 99% finished sketchbook. I have a lot of sketchbooks. I used to love working in sketchbooks, and almost all my art created prior to the last 1 or 2 years was created in sketchbooks. But these days I mainly work on separate sheets of paper and on larger formats as well. And that's why, even though I still love and use sketchbooks, I mainly use them for urban sketching, and I really like using different sketchbooks for different purposes, seasons, and even moods. So currently I have about 10 sketchbooks, might be even more, that I use all at the same time, and as a result I don't finish them as often these days. So this sketchbook, being my only mixed media non-watercolor sketchbook, was easier to fill because it was my only sketchbook of this kind, and even so it took me 3 years to finish it, as you will see. This is a Moleskine sketchbook, not a watercolor one, just a regular with 165 GSM paper, I think. I bought it in 2019 when I started my master's degree, and I was very busy with studying and had to almost completely give up painting for a few months. I decided to buy this simple non-watercolor sketchbook for me to have at least some chance of drawing and sketching while I was completing my studies. Anyway, I'm going to start the tour now. The stickers on the cover are coming from two amazing illustrators. This one is from Polina, and these ones are from Alexandra. I will leave the links to the Instagram pages in the description so you can find them. And this letter charm is coming from the Moleskine themselves. Okay, so I will open the sketchbook. I started this sketchbook in November 2019. It will be 4 years this year since I started this sketchbook. You will see at the beginning there were really quite simple and quick sketches, sometimes simple graphite sketches, because I couldn't spend a lot of time drawing, or not even painting, but even drawing or sketching. So I was trying to be quick. This is a collage I did after visiting one of the exhibitions at the Design Museum. At the beginning, originally I bought this sketchbook just for quick graphite sketches like this one. I even thought of taking this sketchbook out on location with me, just doing some quick drawings on location. But as you can see, I very quickly had this desire to keep using colors because I really like working with colors. So I was just trying to create some simple backgrounds in gouache. So this is gouache, because this sketchbook will not be very good for watercolor, but gouache is okay. And yeah, apart from gouache, I was using some, I think it was Schminke powder, like they have gold in powder. These are colored pencils. This is gouache. Even though I usually complete my sketchbooks page after page, so I don't randomly open a sketchbook and paint or draw something on random pages. Sometimes I would start a sketch and then give it up because I couldn't see myself finish it at the moment. So this sketch, for example, was completed much later than these two. Both these pages inspired by my trip to the Highlands in Scotland at the time, and we went to visit the Isle of Skye, I think. The nature there, of course, was amazing, and I think I didn't even have to come up with any color combinations because that's exactly what the landscapes looked like. This was just one of my unfinished random ideas. So I usually paint something that I saw with my own eyes. I never take other people's references unless it's like a commission or something. This one was just an illustration that I wanted to experiment with. The idea was to draw some like a Milky Way. So this is like a night sky, and I really wanted to somehow try and imitate the Milky Milky Way on this black page, so it will look very graphic. But at the end, just forgot about this idea, so I don't really want to finish it because it's not interesting for me anymore. So I was just trying to distract myself from studying, take a little break, and it's not relevant anymore. These are my trip notes about the Isle of Skye again. We went to see the North Atlantic Ocean. It was really cool. The weather was very nice as well. It was sunny and we saw the North Atlantic Ocean in sunset. So I decided to experiment here with the sketches with black pencil, with black colored pencil, so this is not graphite. Originally I just did these two sketches and I didn't know what to do, and then I decided to add these two sketches in gouache. And I think I did these two maybe in a Christmas time, maybe in like December or January, and these two I did in May. So once again, this sketchbook was very randomly filled. This is my first and only outing with the King's College Art Society. Unfortunately, I was really busy and I didn't really visit any of their events. And finally, in March, I think it was actually before all the coronavirus madness started. So we went to the Victoria and Albert Museum to sketch. It was really nice, and unfortunately, there was no chance of repeating it because of all the things that happened afterwards. I did this sketch in my sketchbook, and I had another sketch that I did like on a separate sheet of paper that the Art Society provided for us. But unfortunately, I lost it while I was moving from one place to another, so I don't have it anymore. But I still remember how it looked like. This is again, I think it was completed in summer, so we started in November and now we moved into summer, and I've only completed like a handful of pages, so I didn't really draw and sketch that much at that time. I remember I was in the middle of completing all my courseworks because I really wanted to draw something, but I just didn't have time for anything. This was my attempt at participating in 6-character challenge. I don't remember what is the exact name, but I'm sure many people heard of it. You had to pick 6 cartoon characters, or I guess maybe even 6 characters in general. They didn't have to be cartoon characters, and draw them in your style. So I decided to participate as well, but as it often happens to me, I didn't actually finish this challenge. So I did only 4. I did 2 in color, and I started doing the other 2, but it's not that I didn't have time to finish it, but just for some reason I didn't even want to do them in color in the same way I did these 2. So I just really liked how they turned out. This is a completely random and weird page. There is a huge gap between these 2 sketches. I was in the countryside in the middle of the forest, and I really like looking at these trees, so I decided to sketch them, but I'm not really good at sketching nature, so... This is my cat. Once again, end of May, I remember I had to complete a lot of essays. I had a lot of work at that time. There was just like my quick break in the middle of it all, and I decided to sketch my cat while he was sleeping in different positions and add this orange background as well, because I wanted to have some color. These were some composition studies for one of my watercolor sketchbook spreads. And actually, I think this is where this phase of me using this sketchbook as a distraction for my studies ended. After this, I think after these 2 pages, I completely gave up on this sketchbook. I forgot about it. I didn't need to use it anymore. This was October 2021, so it was more than a year after all of these sketches. So this was May 20 and this is October 21. These are just the studies for one of my larger watercolor artworks about Florence. Then here I was just testing my black wing pencils with this lump sketch. I think it was around the end of 2021, and these 2 sketches were completed in summer 2022. So there is a huge time gap between these 2 pages, and actually this page is when I started using this sketchbook, Quick Value Studies. Then here I decided to finally give a try to colored pencils. I've never really liked colored pencils. I don't like the look of colored pencils or of illustrations done with colored pencils as much as I love watercolor. So I always think that if I focus on one technique, it will be easier to progress in this technique. But for some reason at the time, I just really wanted to do something with colored pencils. And this was my first ever spread completed in colored pencils. I was just trying different colors, I was trying like different strokes, different techniques. You can see that even these two portraits completed using different techniques and different strokes. Here I even used a liner. These were some of my sketches to commemorate our stargazing in the summers. Last summer, my sister and I often went out at night to see the stars and some planets through the telescope. The highlight of the summer for us was that we managed to see Saturn through the telescope, and we were like literally geeking out about seeing the rings of Saturn through the telescope because it was really, really cool and unusual. I remember creating all these pages with colored pencils was so fun because I was just sitting on my couch with colored pencils. I was very relaxed. I didn't have to concentrate like I do with watercolor. And so yeah, I was just trying different things. Like for example, here I covered the page with black gouache first, and then I was just trying to imitate this night sky with my pencils. I wasn't stressed about it at all, so I really like this spread, even though this side is a bit messed up because of the imprint from this page. So I should have used something to cover this page so this spread will not be messed up. But anyway, I don't really care. Basically, this was the time when I experimented with different materials, and I was really, really happy to use different mixed media, different materials that I had. This was done using a brush pen with ink and my Copic markers. This was the beginning of my little throwback to the Arctic, to the Arctic Circle that I visited in beginning of 2021. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just like trying things that came to my mind. I was experimenting with the composition as well, as you can see. So I was trying different compositional ideas, same as here. For example, I decided to do the sky, but I decided not to do the ground. Trying different colors, and I really like how bright and vibrant these sketches are. Here it's also quite minimalistic, and you don't really have a focus point. I always say you should have a focus point in your sketch, but I mean, it was just a sketch. This one as well. Because I was quite limited in my color palette, I didn't buy any colored pencils. I just found some in my things. I started using them. So I was limited to what I already had, and I didn't want to buy anything new. And that's why you can see that the colors are really strange. Like all of the colors are quite bright, but I actually liked how it turned out. And I think in a way it influenced my watercolor works as well. Really enjoyed doing these free strokes with my pencils. Just quick experiments. These were my imaginary landscapes. This is the Arctic Ocean. It wasn't that bright. It was actually quite a gloomy and dark day, but that's how I see it in my head. Here as well, I wanted to experiment with the composition and with conveying the mood, the atmosphere of that day, of that situation. I think it was a snowstorm in the Arctic, and I just really wanted to somehow make it clear that it was a snowstorm. I don't know if I managed, but it's definitely not a good composition, but and it doesn't matter. Here once again, just experiments. This is Caesar, Julius Caesar. I'm into Roman history, into ancient Roman history, and from time to time I get really absorbed into this hobby of mine. So when I'm really into this period, it sometimes reflects in my art as well. Actually, I also tested my new colored pencils. This was my first Derwent Lightfast colored pencil. I just wanted to see how it performs, and I really loved it, so it performed really well. Here is the start of my swan series. I love swans. I haven't yet figured out how to do them in watercolor. Eventually I will definitely do it. I decided to attempt them with colored pencils and I really like how they turned out. I enjoyed this series, like this small series, a lot. Painting these swans, and once again it was a very, very relaxing experience. I wasn't stressed about the result, about anything, just tried and experimented. This was the sketch of the Queen when she died. I remember when I learned about this, I was so surprised. I didn't expect her to die, like I think most people didn't really expect it. I mean, it was kind of expected, but at the same time unexpected. So I decided to save this moment in my sketchbook. And this is sketch I did to film a reel for my Instagram. I don't even remember what I wanted to do here, probably some Caesar sketches as well, but for some reason I forgot about this page. I think I might actually finish it at some point, it doesn't really matter. Then these are the studies of my cat. I decided to be very adventurous and do some quick life studies of my cat while he was outside. I went out for a walk with him. I took my sketchbook and a pencil and I wanted to sketch him in different poses while he was playing. And it was such a stupid idea because he didn't sit straight even for 2 seconds. So he was just constantly running, jumping, trying to catch flies, butterflies, and so on. So it was pretty much impossible. But I had a lot of fun. I think it looks weird, but I did manage to catch some of his poses. And most of all, I think I like this one. This is another phase of me using these sketchbooks. It's so funny because the sketchbook can be divided into different phases. I would just suddenly remember about this sketchbook, spend a few days filling the pages, then I would get tired of this sketchbook, forget about it again for days, months, even years sometimes, and then I find it again, start using it again, so it's very weird. So yeah, this was like the summer phase, and this was the end of the summer phase, and this was the phase, the autumn period, when I came back from London, and I brought my first ever Luminance pencils from there, Caran Luminance pencils. These are my experiments, my first tries of the Luminance pencils. These are just the things that I saw in London during that trip. This Battersea. As you can see, I really liked this blue sky. This is a Halloween sketch while I was sick. This one is 2, so this one is done like one by one. I was watching The Lord of the Rings at the time. I just wanted to sketch Gandalf with a pumpkin hat. And I think that's it. So I have, as I said, this sketchbook is 99% finished, and I meant that I still have 1 page left. I have the swatches here of all my colored pencils. My color palette is quite weird, one-sided towards blues and greens. This is a sketch of my niece that was done also ages ago, and these are my ideas. Actually, I had an intention to finish this page, to finish this spread, and then film a sketchbook tour. I wanted to complete this page last year so I could write that the sketchbook was finished in 3 years. But it didn't happen. I don't know why, because it's so simple to just complete one spread in colored pencils. I could do it in like 10 minutes, but for some reason I didn't push myself enough to complete it, and now I feel like it's not relevant anymore. And the things that I have here in this envelope, once again, like my random on-the-go swatches of my different pencils, of Copic markers, when I was trying different color palettes. Ideas for the spreads that I did while I was at uni. So, you know, like you don't have to think a lot about what you're doing, so you can just complete it. Like a lot of fun memories of things that happened ages ago. By the way, in case you're wondering what I'm using to protect my pages, this is just regular baking paper. I don't know what normal people use, but I just use baking paper because I don't want to buy anything specifically for this sketchbook. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I really like watching sketchbook tours myself, especially mixed media sketchbooks, because people always experiment with different materials, with compositions, with colors as well, and it's always interesting for me. Even though I'm a die-hard watercolor lover, I love mixed media and I love seeing other people's mixed media works. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a like, and yes, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.